Hello, welcome to my studio. My name is Matthew Burrows. I'm an artist living and working in the southeast of the UK. I'm also founder of our support pledge, a global movement in support of artists and makers. Today I'm going to show you around my studio, which you can see behind me, and give you some insight into what I'm currently doing and how I go about making my work. So let's go inside and have a look around. Let's go inside. First room, which is my drawing studio, usually only used for making works on paper, but I'm currently making paintings in here too, as I'm using the room next door to make sculpture. The large table in the centre of the room is a table tennis table, which I use for laying out the drawings, packing, doing anything that really I need to keep clean. It's very useful because I can pack it away, move it around. The centre of what I do really starts here, which is my drawing table and my bookcase where I keep my sketchbooks and reference material. I'm currently making drawings using coloured inks and engine ink on handmade paper. The different sorts of pots that you see on the table have different proportions of ink and water in. So the plastic pots, which you can see here, have water and ink, and the glass pots have pure ink. The bits of objects, including twigs over here, that you see around the table, are all used to help make the drawings, offering different marks and structures. So to the side of my drawing table I have my office desk where I start most days dealing with emails, and also now managing our support pledge. This is where it all starts. It's all managed from, so it all happens from this little computer here with a fantastic view of the East Sussex countryside all the way across to Dungeness. That keeps me sane on the tough days. Over here we have one of my painting tables. I have 2 or 3 of these in different parts of the studio depending on what I'm doing. I mix my colours in pots, jars, or in foil takeaway trays. This allows me to keep the colours I've mixed, and also I keep the trays as sort of reference for the different colours, so it acts as a kind of giant colour reference wheel. And I can move the trays around to create new combinations. Some of those trays I've probably had for years now. The paintings that I currently have out in the drawing room are there as a reference to help with the new work that I'm making. These were both produced before lockdown. All my work explores the relationship to borders and lines as a kind of metaphor for understanding the relationship to place and landscape. So if you walk across the studio, you see the large board on the wall here is where I a large drawing board for either making large drawings or for sizing large pieces of canvas before they are stretched up onto a stretcher. So let's go through to Studio 2 where we'll see what I'm currently making. So here we are in the painting studio, usually the painting studio. It's now been used to make 3D sculptural work. The works on the wall to the left are maquettes for larger scale pieces that I shall be making. These are made out of coloured bamboo canes, very professional at this point. There's a rack on the wall for all the coloured canes, the larger scale canes at the bottom for the larger scale work. The platform on the floor is so that I can make jigs for making the large scale pieces, but it's currently got some stretchers on, which I'm about to stretch up for some paintings. So a quick example of actually what I'm actually doing. The paintings are made on a rough burlap, which is transparent and shows the frame underneath showing through. So there's two frames, an outer frame and an inner frame, and the frames underneath will be painted on as well. So an interesting feature really of what I do as an artist is running, endurance running. I spend a lot of my free time running races up to 100 miles in the countryside or in the mountains. And each day I'll go out into the landscape and run, normally for an hour or two in the week, and then I do the long runs at the weekend. But this has become really important to me as a painter, and this sense of connectedness to space, to environment, to the relationship of the body, to the landscape. Yes, so my relationship to the landscape has developed through this activity of running, and running as, I think of running really a bit like drawing, that it's a movement in space in relationship to touch and to form and to a kind of navigation of sorts, a kind of moving in and through. And that relates in some way to things like your heartbeat and your rhythm and your pace and your sense of phenomena and the environment. And there are things that you can't really change in that. The ground at your feet is what it is, and you move through it like the wind moves through it. And I think that sort of sense of connectedness to space, the connectedness to the environment, has had a profound effect on the way I not only make work, but think about the landscape, think about my place in it. So I always like that idea that I move through the landscape with shoes that are like a pencil, making a mark, sometimes quick, sometimes slow, but hopefully always in respect and in relationship to the ground at its feet. So I guess I should mention our support pledge and just talk a little bit about that. I instigated and launched it on the 16th of March this year in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And really, I thought of it as an opportunity just maybe to help a few friends and colleagues by posting some prints of mine on Instagram for sale for £200. And I pledged that if I reached £1,000 of sales, I would buy another artist's work for £200 if they used the same hashtag, which was hashtag Artist Support Pledge. As many of you will know, this went viral. It's now a global movement and has generated well over £60 million globally. I didn't expect that. I've had to respond to it, and for the last 6 months, it's pretty much dominated my life. It's kept going largely because I think it is my belief that what our support pledge did was it gave a voice to artists who maybe haven't had a voice, or it gave a context for thinking about what it meant to be valuable, what it meant to be successful as an artist. That perhaps success wasn't about being the most famous or the richest, but actually was about being connected to one another, about a community across the world, or small communities, perhaps just small communities of friends who joined up in solidarity with other small groups of friends all over the world to help support one another, with a promise that they would make that pledge if they reached £1,000 of sales. Well, many people reached that £1,000 of sales, I'm happy to report, and it's still going, and people are still doing it. So that's been a phenomena, really, and something that I couldn't have imagined. But I think importantly for me, I think one of the reasons why I think I was able to do it was because it sits within a kind of culture of my work, how I think about being an artist, what I've developed as a community around me to help sustain me as an artist in the last 25 years, which is really this idea that if we develop a culture of trust and generosity, which is not the same as a culture of competitiveness, exclusiveness and power. In a way, it's sort of the opposite of that. It's about sort of saying, actually, we are all better off if we sustain the community, if we sustain one another. If one of us has power, if one of us has exclusivity, and one of us has that success, then that might be very good for one of us, but there are many who don't have anything. So really it was just about saying, perhaps if we just shifted what we thought success means, if we change and create values that really are about support rather than competitiveness, and if we said that actually this is a level playing field where no one can charge more than £200, so we don't have to worry about people being exclusive. It's a really compelling idea, and I think the thing that maybe surprised everybody was that so many people have benefited from it. Not just artists and makers, but actually buyers, supporters of the arts, observers, people who are just watching this happen and realise that actually a culture like this is a culture that most people really would like to be a part of. So I'm just super proud of everybody who's been involved in it, of all the artists who've participated. It's still a challenge to keep it going, and with the goodwill and the generosity of all those involved, and its participants, its supporters, its buyers, the galleries, the directors, the curators, all those who've supported it. This may just be something that can support artists for a long time to come.